because we are running so late, I just want us to be aware of, as we move through the rest of the agenda, the time, because we're going to probably have to extend the meeting. So
Okay.
let's kind of keep our eye on the clock. Okay, next item, please.
So the next item is approval of minutes. Approval of minutes of the following Dearborn Board of Education meetings: Finance Committee meeting February 11th, 2019, Building and Site Committee meeting February 11th, 2019, Policy Committee meeting February 11th, 2019, regular P12 meeting February 11th, 2019, and City Relations Committee meeting February 27th, 2019. Recommended action: make any necessary corrections and move approval of these minutes. Are there any corrections to these minutes?
So moved.
I support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? I heard Mary's aye. All right. Thank you, Mary. All right, we'll attach a unanimous roll.
All right, next, moving on to
Madam
special.
Chair, if you don't mind, can
Yes.
you push the special reports further down the agenda and go right to action items? Send these people home
I-
early if they'd like to.
think that that's a good idea.
I was actually considering flipping it. Once,
Does it need a vote, or just, I think you can just make that call?
no, I can go ahead and change the layout of the agenda, so if we want to move to action items. One thing I do want to say before we move into action items, or two things I'm going to say. One is, I want to thank everyone here who came to speak tonight. You made a compelling argument, I will say. You actually have me thinking. But one thing, wait. One thing I want you to remember, something that you reiterated over and over again about Imad Fadlallah, and I knew him personally. My children were at Stout when he was a principal there. I want you to remember that you said over and over again about how courageous he was in making an unpopular decision and having to put up with the backlash. I want to remind everyone, before we move into this, and I don't know where this is going to head, but I'm going to tell you that I understand that the naming process, because I've been involved in it before, becomes very emotional in the decision when a name is submitted that holds a very personal connection to those who are supporting it. And our policy has very few guidelines for us to follow. And the outcome can be very arbitrary due to the independent perspectives of the board. So depending on the makeup of the board, we have different visions of those policies. It's our job as trustees to try and remain as objective as possible, consider all the details, and work to balance our decisions with the best interests for the district as a whole. All right. I am looking for a fair and equitable opportunity for all in recognizing individuals that community members admire and respect. And that being said, I am in no way, whatever way the decision goes, meaning to diminish the value of Imad Fadlallah. I have a responsibility as a board member to interpret our policies by including past practice and future needs. And it's never easy to cast an unpopular decision. But I came to this seat prepared to follow my convictions. And this is not saying where I am going, but I want to let you know that any decisions that we make as board members, have to be in the interest of the community at large. And I want to make sure that we don't step beyond the purpose and the scope of the name designation. But I will say that you challenged my thought process about the precedent that I am concerned about setting. I understand the relationships you all had with Imad Fadlallah and the legacy that he has carried. I've had many friends who've accused me of things that I had hoped they would understand that I too hold strong convictions about the job that I have to do here today. and it's to represent an entire community of members who have different visions. You're a part of that community, yes. I'm not asking for that. What I'm saying is that I represent all of the schools. So that, excuse me, this is not a time to have an argument. I've heard your pleas, and you have moved me, and that's all I wanted to say. So now let's move forward to the action items. We're going to switch the reports
All right, we're moving
to action items.
action items. Are there any agenda items on this agenda which board members or the superintendent wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the motions below.
Does anybody want to poll?
I would like to discuss our Medford Lois resolutions.
Okay, Mary, we got to get you up to the microphone. Okay, first, okay.
I have a question on item 3 and item 4.
Okay, item 3 and 4. A question, do you need them polled, or you just have a question?
No, once the motion is passed, I can ask my question, and then I don't think my vote will be affected.
Okay, all right. And what else are we looking at?
And I wanted to discuss action items 17, naming of forts and atrium, and 18, naming of the stout team.
Do we need it polled? Is there
We
anybody
don't
who would
need
like to
'em
poll
pulled.
for a roll
We don't
call?
need 'em pulled, unless somebody wants them pulled.
I'm setting it out there now. Does anybody want it polled for a roll call?
We don't need them pulled, unless somebody wants them pulled.
We're just doing a discussion?
Are we just, that's what I'm asking. Do you want to do the discussion before or after the vote?
You can't
I'd
have
like to do
discussions
before.
until the motion's on the table,
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right then. Let's move forward.
So you want a motion now?
Yep.
So,
So moved.
support?
Wait, she hasn't read you have to read the,
Okay.
You in a hurry, Jim?
you have to read motion to approve.
Numbered which ones, but which numbers do we have?
I move that motion, action items 1 through 21 be approved.
And I support.
Okay, we have moved and support. Now, Mary, you want to ask the questions now on 3 and 4?
Yeah, I think they can be quickly answered.
Right.
In the background material for question number 3, there's a 7% contingency fund. I thought we normally said 10%, so I'm
10%,
just
yeah.
curious about that.
Tim, yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tim,
Mr. Grzinski's coming up, Mayor.
The contingency is a little bit lower because those are final bid. It's not an estimate. As far as
Okay.
is that the question for both of them then, Mary? For 3 and 4?
No, the
Oh.
second question is different.
Okay. What do you have on 4?
The second question is this. I'm getting feedback, sorry. Shaw Flooring is out of Calhoun, Georgia, and I wondered, here's a series of short questions. I wondered, can we be sure that this contract will be served well? And secondly, they buy their turf from a company called JMD Turf in India. Can we get verification from them that they will not use any child labor to produce this turf?
Good evening, Board. You want to talk first? Go ahead.
This is Mike Sim from Foresight Designs. We've been working on the forts at Field together. So
Yes. Shaw Flooring is a is a large conglomerate company. We're very familiar with them from the carpet industry side. They have a division of sports flooring where they do synthetic turf, and that's who has been recommended for award for this project. Our firm has had a lot of good success with Shaw Flooring, never had any bad experiences with them. The company that was mentioned, JMD Turf, I am not familiar with them. I have personally seen and been down to Shaw's manufacturing facility in Calhoun, Georgia, spent about 5 days there and seen every process from the raw materials to the finished product. I feel very comfortable with their experience, their work ethic, and don't have any concerns recommending them for this award.
So, Mary, are you concerned that the manufacturing is done out of the country?
Yes.
Okay, and you're saying you've seen that they manufacture
Yes, I have.
down south?
Yes, I have.
No, okay, that satisfies me. I just don't want to have us purchasing from unethical providers just because we can get a better price.
It didn't go on the mic, I don't know, she just said that satisfies her. I know for some reason it didn't project on the microphone, but that she just wanted to make sure it wasn't through unethical providers.
Okay.
Overseas?
Like, yeah,
Yes, again,
Glenn?
no problem.
Go ahead.
Trustee Barry?
I have a follow-up on trustee Lane's comments regarding approval of change orders. I know we have a few of them on this. Are we within our parameters?
On which project?
On, really, I asked before if we can keep a running tab on change orders, but I know we're so deep into it right now.
Right.
Are you confident that we're still within our parameters?
For every
There's
project.
not gonna be any surprises at the end?
Correct, except the Dearborn expansion, we, through the Building and Site Committee, stated that the contingency had to be raised due to the soil conditions from the
Yes,
stormwater
I remember that.
and from the state requirement that we enhance fire protection on
firewalls,
the
yeah.
addition. So other than that, we've been keeping a running.
Is it possible to see that running
Yeah.
report?
I asked Mr. Wall just earlier today if he can give us a total of where we at with the Dearborn High expansion compared to where we thought we would be when we got started.
And we have those figures in there. We actually texted them.
I wasn't aware that this was asked for. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes, just something else on number 8. Regarding the buses.
Okay. Number 8.
Yeah, number 8, just a question. We're purchasing 3 buses. I'm looking at the prices here. I remember when we talked about buses, we used to estimate it's about $100,000 a bus.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes, I remember from previous discussions that when we ever budgeted for buses or talked about buses, we mentioned that it was about $100,000 a bus. And these numbers I'm looking at is 118, 128. The last one I understand, there's some special needs equipment on there, but 128 and 118 is,
Right, the buses did go up a little bit. I would say it probably went up about 5% since last year from what we purchased. About $100,000, I'm not aware of where that number came from, but the buses that,
Was that in the report we did a few years ago?
when we talked about
I was gonna say, I think that was a
transportation,
few
that was
years
the
ago,
number we
yeah.
looked at, so.
Inflation.
So a few years, it's been up 28% then. Okay, I just saw those numbers
Yeah.
and it was a flag. for me.
one difference I can point out that maybe inflated these buses that I'm proposing to purchase is that one is a lift bus. That option alone is $12,000 roughly, if the figures I might be in front of you, if not, we can get them. And 2 buses with air conditioning, that
I was
option
gonna say, are
alone.
they air conditioned?
2
That's
of
what I
them are,
kinda
and
thought.
2 of them, that option is $10,000 by itself as well.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, thank you. I want to continue a couple more since the motion's on the table.
Since the motion's on the
Yeah,
table. Okay,
so
'cause
17, 18, the motion's 17, action
in
item
18,
17,
okay, are we
18 are on
ready
the
to,
table.
yeah, have the discussion on 17, 18? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna
I
make
just wanna
some-
make sure we're
we'll make some
moving-
comments,
moving-
that's all. That's
Right,
all, it's- yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah. First, I want to say, Allah Hamake Sayyid. I'm going to talk about, you heard about the family man, you heard about the mentor to parents and his colleagues. I'm going to mention some other things I know about Sayyid Ahmad Fadlallah. I Googled Lowry School. I was able to find actually plenty of information about Harvey H. Lowry. Becker, I didn't have to Google. She was my, for most people, Becker is a school. For me, Becker is my journalism teacher back in junior high school at Salina. A lot of information out there. When I first met Imad Fadullah, I thought he was very arrogant. I didn't have that comfortable feeling. This is way before he came to Fortson. I did not know him. Even though he was only a couple of years older than me, we didn't have that relationship. I knew of his younger brothers. They were under the impression that they can play basketball, but this all falls in the lap of Dr. John Artis. If Dr. John Artis were left Sayyid Imad Fadullah at Stout, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about, passing two different motions at the same time. But Dr. Artis was able to send. I know some of my colleagues mentioned that they don't know. Is this microphone on? Yes. I know some of my colleagues mentioned they didn't know Mr. Imad Fadullah. Fair enough. I knew Mr. Imad Fadullah. I knew him very well. I got to know him. When Imad Fadullah came to Fortson in 2005, Mariam Jalul cleaned it up a little bit. Let me tell you my view, because I had a freshman at Fortson and two at Woodworth coming to Fortson. So I was a little bit concerned. I was ready to make that move and abandon the idea of sending my kids to Fortson. But my boys wanted to play football, so Fortson it was. Fortson went through 3 principals in 2 years just before Sayyid Imad Fadullah came over there. There was this thing in the paper about money missing from the office. There was this discussion that there was gangs penetrating Fortson High School, drugs penetrating high school. And like I said, Mr. Jalul cleaned it up a little bit, saying about a little bit of rowdy. When Imad came to Fortson, I decided to invite him out to lunch. We went to one of the local restaurants, and if you know Imad, he was very simple. He ordered a cup of soup and a half a sandwich. And I figured I get this man back. He's responsible for 2,000 students. I got to send him back to work in about a half hour, 45 minutes. We sat there for 2.5 hours. I fell in love with the man. What I learned about him, what was in his heart, he was able to give me 2.5 hours. I was just a parent, like Brenda said. Man, he respected parents. To me, if this was a political decision, I would have to recuse myself. I was too close to the man. I loved him dearly. If this was a popularity decision, I would laugh, literally laugh at somebody like the Sayyid Imad Fadullah, team room, hallway, really? Full disclosure here, before I was on the board, I actually lobbied the committee. I said, there's a building there waiting to be named. But, this thing, politics gets in the way sometimes, and I guess that was blocked. The decision we're about to make tonight, we're a board. We serve the community, and you're 100%, President Petrikov. We serve the whole community. But what I've learned about Imad, nothing new tonight to me, to be honest with you, but what I learned about Sayyid Imad Fadullah was not surprising that people fall in love with him at Stout. I know why we fell in love with him at Fortson, but I'm not surprised. Because here's a man, way back then, was able to cross Southfield and respect students and colleagues, no matter what their names were. If they were Ali or Kevin, if they were Miriam or Michelle. I've had some deep, deep discussions with Imad when he was at Fortson. That came from his heart. He didn't care what the student's name was. He just cared that the student excelled. Let me tell you about the late Imad Fadullah, my friend, Allah yarhamu. And I know he would be mad at me, but it's okay, Imad. Back in 2007, 2008, when we had, I believe, I forget, over a dozen students going to Ann Arbor, he called me to his office. He says, we need $50,000. I said, okay. Can we write you a check? It's not gonna clear, but I'll write you a check. What are you talking about? He says, I have students that are accepted to U of M Ann Arbor who will not be able to go. Because they can't afford the extra money that they need. We had a fundraiser that year. We raised $45,000. Brenda was part of my committee. Brenda's still here, I hope. Out of that $45,000, he raised $30,000 of it, and he gave me a check signed anonymous donor. Read between the lines. So he wasn't just the educator, the great family man. He had a neighbor that's 2 doors down from him. He would call me, come on over for tea. I would go there on a Sunday evening, every Sunday evening religiously. This happened for over 2.5 years. He would put a few dollars in my hand, and he knew exactly that I'd know what to do with it. I would go grocery shopping, pick up the groceries. I was too embarrassed to do it. I would ask one of my sons or one of my nephews to go drop off the food at his neighbor's house. And this happened every Sunday evening. One time I said, Ahmad, let me take care of it this time. He yelled at me, Scoot. That means shut it. I think he was the only one that ever got away with saying that to me. This decision shouldn't be a political decision. Not I'm saying that is. Our policies, was mentioned earlier, clearly states that the superintendent designates a committee, and that's exactly what happened. I think this is the respect for that committee. I'm sure they went through some tension, facing the same issues that we're facing tonight. So I know how I'm going to vote. My gut is telling me that both will pass. I would just love to see my colleagues join me and make it unanimous.
They weren't polled.
I didn't say they were.
Yeah.
I just said, I know how I'm voting, but I did.
I would like to make a comment when.
Okay, let's let Fadwa, since she asked for it first for the discussion. Okay.
All right, so I know that the personal connection to Ahmad word was used a lot, and I know that most of us have had conversations with him. I don't want to talk about my conversations with Ahmad, because I think to me this decision's not personal. And quite frankly, with all due respect to every single person on this board, and I know, hoping by this not being polled, that this would pass unanimously, the impact of this legend is simply not measured by 7 votes. And, to say that whether we walk out of here winners because something was named after this man, this community lost a lot when he passed, but I think that new sheriff in town that was once announced has been a legend for not just this town, because this is not just about this community. I think that this impact is about so many communities, even in the orphans of Lebanon, that he left behind. So, and in honor of Women's History Month, I do have to talk about Sayyid Ahmad Fadlallah. When you think about the impact that this individual had, it wasn't just confined within 2 buildings. This was really a culture change within an immigrant community that was really struggling with something as simple as, can we send our girls away to college? And the status quo for a very long time was absolutely not. And I think many of our young women can attest to that. And if you were to go look back and pull some data as to when women in this community started venturing out, it was close to the time when this legend was knocking on the doors of their parents and talking to them and educating them. This went far beyond Stout and far beyond Fortson. I have to say that this day hurts me because my first board meeting was that board meeting that was talked about earlier. In fact, that was maybe the first time I had met some of the board members. I came here with my brother to advocate for Mr. Imad Fadlallah. And at that time, when he was under attack, that was the day I learned what advocacy was. And that was the first time I saw my brother advocate, was on his behalf, and now my brother is advocating on behalf of the country over on the Hill in Washington. But the first time I saw him advocate was right here in this room. And in fact, when I called my brother and I said, so the vote is going to be up, do you want me to say anything? He was so offended. He said, are we still discussing this as to why he is worthy? Why we should name something after him? And are we still having this conversation? Is the board asking his family if we can borrow his name to honor our buildings, or are we debating whether we should put his name on the buildings? I was embarrassed. He had nothing to say about today. But my father's also here today, and my father was with me at my very first board meeting with my brother. As an immigrant father, and this is why I say this is not just personal, I think this is a story of so many in this community. My brother was a recipient of the Brehm Scholarship, as were many students in here. And I think Dr. Elder, too, would attest to the fact that anybody in this district knows that this is the well that keeps on giving. And we have that Brehm Scholarship because of the advocacy of this legend that we talk about today. And it will keep on giving because of the legacy of this legend. When my brother received the scholarship, and I had mentioned this in the past, my father, who's here, could not afford housing for my brother. And we knew we'd make it work, and my brother wasn't the only one. But this legend opened up his home, his son's home actually, in another community to house these students so they can go to college. That's who we're talking about. So this is not personal. This should be the standard if anybody could reach it. I think many of us in this room will die and will never have people talk about us the way that we talked about him today.
Okay, are you ready for Trustee Lane?
I wanted to say something as well.
I hope everybody does want to say something. But I do want to end with this, as much as this is great. I think that we all know this is more than, his legacy is more than that. And I really hope we do honor him with something more, a building not for him, but for when people pass through our communities, this name should be outside, not inside halls. And people should be asking about. That way people can ask about, what is this name? And maybe then they can learn the story, and maybe then they can be affected and do better by his example. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Lane?
Mary, you can go ahead now.
Okay, I'll be very quick because I've got the wind blowing here and I have a little bit of reverb also. I'm sorry I can't be there. My husband and I had already planned a vacation, and I've listened to the really eloquent comments. I'm sorry that I can't see some old friends. I don't know what the audience looks like, but I know that there are many old friends that were there that spoke and really could say much more than I can ever hope to express about Imad. But I would like to attest to the facts that Trustee Berry just spoke. I know those are true, except I don't know if they went out for lunch, but I do know that Imad Fadlallah saved Fordson High School and thereby saved Dearborn Public Schools. Fordson was in chaos, and I just ask all of us to think about where we would be as a district with our flagship high school in such chaos. Imad turned Fordson around, and Dearborn Public Schools has done great subsequently. I think that's a testament to public education, and I would thank Imad from the bottom of my heart for doing that. I hope that my colleagues will vote yes, as I will. Not only did he affect Fordson, but I know as a parent how much he affected Stout as well, which also had many troubles at the time. So I would urge everyone to vote yes on both. Thank you.
Trustee McDonald.
Without question, Ahmad Fadlallah was a visionary leader. There's no doubt about it. And he was beloved and respected by many in the community. And I will say I appreciate everyone coming here and sharing your thoughts and your views of Ahmad. And you have convinced me of one thing, and that is that, as stated so eloquently earlier, is that it would be the honor of an institution to carry his name from the stories that you tell me. But I want to say one thing else. And I do believe that. And I've heard stories not just tonight. For many years, I've heard some of the stories of this great man. And I absolutely believe that he should be honored. But I still have doubts as to the wisdom of naming something for more than one thing for anyone. And I stated last time, and the reason why that is because this district has a history that runs more than 100 years. We have seen thousands and thousands of employees, teachers and administrators come and go. Can I finish, please?
Excuse me, we listened to all
Absolutely.
of you. Would you let us have now the courtesy of
And there's
speaking?
no doubt that he has made a huge impact, and I'm not saying that he hasn't, and perhaps more than anyone else in this district. I'm not saying he hasn't. What concerns me is just because this has a more than 100-year history, we've had thousands of people, employees, come through this district. We've had lots and lots of people that have worked in multiple buildings and have done outstanding jobs. And the purpose of education is to touch students, to change their lives. And I am not diminishing what he accomplished at all. I'm just saying that it does happen. Even at this table, Dr. Maleko changed students' lives and touched students' lives at Salina, as well as Duval, and now at the position that he holds now. So I'm just saying that although it's rare, it's not unheard of in this district. And so that is the only thing that I have an issue with, is naming more than one, because they are a limited resource. A naming opportunity is a limited resource. So that's the only issue I have. I wanted to put it out there. The reason why there's 7 members on this board is that we share our views, we share our thoughts, and we come to the best decision that there is. And absolutely, like I said, I would not be opposed to us having a building named after him, or having our building be honored with his name. That's what you have taught me tonight, and that's what I've heard in the past. But I still just have to say that I question the wisdom of naming more than one thing after anybody. And I've told you why. That's all I have to say.
Trustee Barrett,
I'll be very quick.
please.
This might help Trustee McDonald reduce her tension. We're not making the decision here. Superintendent commissioned the committee brought a recommendation to us. We either
I'm just sharing my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's my responsibility as somebody that sits on this board and sits at this table. So I'm sharing my thoughts.
Respect.
But I have to tell you that I appreciate everyone that came here and shared their stories, and you did convince
Please,
me.
it's a board
our
business,
meeting.
not the, communities.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wanted to touch on who the committee was. And this was the first time, we actually had administrators, part of the administration team, bringing this resolution forward, which was so great to see, and that was something that wasn't mentioned. The committee members are now our administrators who learned from his leadership. They brought this forward. And in terms of naming the two. I think this could easily be solved by naming one building after him, and I'm sure the family would be okay.
I would be less opposed
Yeah.
to that than I would two different places. I would be less opposed to naming one building after him than I would be opposed to naming two smaller things. That's
We
what I
look to
feel.
you in the future
So hold
for
that thought.
providing this
Well,
resolution.
well, then there would be three things named after him, and I would
I'm
be
sure,
even
I'm
more
sure that the
opposed to
community
that.
and the family would be
So-
honored by having a building instead of a room.
My,
If everybody has had their opportunity, Dr. Mead,
I just want to say that.
because I'd like to call the vote.
Okay, I just want to say that I'm very sad. And the reason why I'm very sad is because I never met this man. And after hearing all of the speeches, and I'm also very happy because of these children who have been able to hear all of the people in the community, how they feel so strongly about your father. So this has been a great event.
No charge, Dr. Mead, no charge.
All right, then, we have a motion on the table with a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? No nays? The motion passes unanimously. Mary Lane did vote in the affirmative as well.
Thank you, Mary Lane.
Is she still on, or?
She's still on, yeah.
So, community members, Trustee Lane mentioned that she's on vacation. She's in Brazil. And I don't know all my time zones, but she's 1 or 2 time zones ahead of us, putting it close to midnight her time, but this was important enough that she called in. So I want to make sure everyone knew about that.
And now, because we still have to continue business, if you are satisfied, not want to leave, if you could just exit quietly and then have your conversations out in the hallway so that we don't disrupt the taping of this. You're more than welcome to stay or go. But we have to continue on our business. Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to take a moment as people are exiting. I just want to thank the committee, the hard work by the committee. I know I had trustees like Fadwa Hamoud 2 years ago talk to me about this. I had other trustees, I had community members, and so it took a while. And then last year, it was maybe in June, I think Trustee Berry and others had said, let's get not only this, and later in the evening, you're going to hear the Brian Whiston proposal as well. And so I just want to thank all the members of the committee for their hard work and dedication. And I also, although I didn't work directly with Imad, he was a principal colleague, and one thing I knew about him is students were first in his mind, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now to the summary, Trustee Hamoud.
Summary of agenda action items: 1, approval of warrants; 2, approval of contract; 2, Presidio Holdings; 3, approval of contracts per board report 18103; 4, approval of contracts to Shaw Reports Turf, S&H Trucking, board report 18104; 5, approval of contract to Johnson Controls; 6, approval of contract to LaBelle Electric; 7, approval of contract to Purvis and Foster; 8, approval of bus purchase with Holland Bus Company; 9 through 11, approval of change orders; 12 through 15, approval of non-instructional and instructional personnel items for P12. 16, approval of financial statement. 17, approval of renaming the Fortson Atrium. 18, approval of renaming the Stout Team Room. 19, approval of 2018-2019 first budget revision per board report 18113. 20, approval of policy updates per board report 18114. And 21, approval of donations.
Okay, thank you. Next. Where did,
They went to the restroom.
oh, okay, we lost two.
All right, next we have special reports,
You didn't hear what Dr. Mead had to go do?
parent-teacher home visits.
Parent, all right, okay. And thank you for the, those who are presenting for their patience. I know it's getting late, so I
Yes,
appreciate.
I really appreciate your taking a step back, although you didn't get to say.
And we're very, I just want to mention too, I'm very excited by the work of this program and the leadership of the DFT. The board members who were, it's been in my goals, but really the DFT has taken the lead, but it was part, when I got hired, it was part of my 90-day plan 4 years ago almost. And so I just want to mention though, that the DFT has taken the lead, so I'm very excited for the expansion of this
It's
program.
been a good partnership,
Yeah.
so yes, and we hope to continue. Okay. Well, they can put- You might want to put the slide up first. It should look like this.
Got that. Just, you know what you need, so just a second.
Yeah, I think just-
Okay.
Okay, wait, which one are we doing right now? We're doing the parent, oh, parent, okay.
It worked out pretty good. We could hear you pretty clearly through this website. Yeah. Other than, the only issue was sometimes the microphone wasn't on. I had to pull it, but it had nothing to do with the phone, so.
Okay.
It's gonna be
I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves real quick and say what building they're from. I'm Jane Mazza, a president, Dearborn Federation of Teachers.
Veronica Jacobs, principal of Long Elementary.
Julie Leap, IC, Long and Nollen. Michelle Rossing, kindergarten at Oakman Elementary. Patty Logel, 3rd and 4th grade at Oakman.
Amal Shehab, ELD specialist, Oakman.
Lisa Yantz, Oakman.
Mahmoud Abarous, principal at Oakman.
So you can see, we started this program with the support of the district in fall of 2016. Do you see the slide? I mean, are you seeing the same slide?
Yes.
Okay, good, sorry. So Oakman and Long were our first two schools to sort of pilot the parent-teacher home visit. You can see we had 19 teachers at Oakman and 6 at Long trained. That's 83% of Oakman and 32% of Long. The number of visits, that means how many home visits they made, so 57 and 43. Every year we've surveyed the elementary schools to see who would be in favor of doing the parent-home teacher visit. The parent-teacher home visit is a national program that works with the districts and unions. And part of the deal is that if a school has to have at least 50% or more positive interest from their teachers. So if they don't have the 50%, we don't try to push it there. We would go to another school that does have the 50%. I'm happy to say that last year, when we did a survey again, we had many schools that were interested, and we actually had to sort of pick and choose. So, because we didn't have enough funding to do everybody that was interested. So, Chris Sipperly, who can't be here tonight, she's ill, but she sat down with Glenn Malenko and Jill and different people and the principals and decided to pick one East and one West End school. And so they picked Nowlin and Salina. And then you can see the numbers there, how many we have trained, what the percentage is. We have a high interest in buildings that would like to have this. It's just the problem right now is just getting the funding. And, you know, we started small, and it's a good problem to have. I mean, we have more people that want to do it than right now that we have the money to do. And we are working on, we brought in the parent-teacher home visit trainers last week, and they trained the Nowlin and Salina intermediate and Salina elementary teachers. And we are working, we're going to meet with Dr. Malenko and Cabinet, I believe, next week to talk about bringing the trainers in to train our own people. So then we would have Dearborn train the trainers. Because right now when we bring the trainers in, they're coming in from Minnesota and we have to, pay their expenses. So we're gonna, like I said, next week, meet with the cabinet and see how we can work around getting our own training, and that way we can grow exponentially.
And if we do train the trainers, moving forward, it will not cost us?
It will cost us.
I mean, but the type of money that
But we
we're
won't have to
currently-
bring in the people from Minnesota. There is a cost to be trained, and there's also a cost to keeping their branding, if you will, and that is part of the situation that we want to keep their branding. So there is a licensing fee to that, but so far, the union has been partnering with the district, and we're going to see how much both sides basically can bring to the table to keep the program going. And it's been very successful, and I went on a home visit, I loved it, and these teachers have been on many more than I have, and I think that, I know from Long and from Oakman, just the results they have of building a community have been phenomenal, what they learn. And as we talked earlier tonight, and all the speakers who talked about Mr. Fadlala, it is building that community, because we're not going in, the home visits have nothing to do with your attendance issues or behavior issues or academic issues. Our first visit is always, what is the hope and dreams? That's the catchwords we have to use. What are the hope and dreams for your child? And that's what we work from. We don't take any paper or pencil the first visit. We just talk about what you want from your child, how you see the school, how we can work together as a partnership. So there it is.
Are there any questions?
Anything I missed, ladies and gents?
Okay.
Oh, I didn't, Miss Charles should be up here too. She's sneaking back there, but she's part of it also. Yeah.
I do have a couple of follow-up questions.
Okay.
Especially for the teachers who have been in the homes. Did you, was there any hesitancy from the parents who felt like you might be coming in to spy on their home environment or any of that? And to follow up on that, once you're in the home environment, if you see something that you think you need to intervene with or ask for additional support for, is that part of the program as well?
Sorry, I'm going to jump in on that one.
Okay.
Even though I've only made one home visit. When we call to make the home visit, the parent has the right to say, I don't want to be visited.
Right.
Okay? They also have the right to say, you know what, can we meet at McDonald's or the park or the library
Okay.
instead? Because everyone has their own comfort level.
Right.
I don't think that's happened. I don't know, has anybody? So everybody's been helpful. Right. Oh, Tim Hortons. But to answer your other thing, like on the fact that we have to report anything that we would think was dangerous because we're public school teachers, that has not happened in Dearborn. And actually nationally, it's happened very,
rare.
very small
Okay.
percentage. Because you have to remember, I'm calling you and saying, can I come to your house? And you're accepting it. So you would hope that
There wouldn't be something
there that you
untoward,
shouldn't be
yeah.
seeing, right?
But even if you thought that they might need support in other ways, whether it looked like they had some issues with food or with,
Yeah, I think that would be, go ahead.
Actually, we had on both ends of the spectrum. So I had some parents contact me about why your teachers are coming to my house. What's the reason for the visit? So we had to do some kind of introduction and education. And once we set the purpose, the acceptance was tremendous from the parents. And we also, my teachers went on a couple home visits and came back and said, okay, we need to help this family. We noticed this, we noticed that. And as a community, we rallied together and to help this family or that
Okay.
family without, making any specific naming of things.
right, right. Okay, well, that answers my question. Thank you. Anyone else?
We have the video.
Oh, the video, oh my goodness, okay.
I just
play
want
the
to make
video.
a comment too, that this is a very positive program, and I think the affiliation with the national is very important because it comes with research and training, and that's one of the reasons why we want to stay affiliated, just like the community and schools models and others. And I can tell you, I personally am supportive because I've seen the benefit to parents personally. My time as a 3rd and 5th grade teacher at Salina and going and meeting with parents in their homes. And then as a principal, we did it, and I've had that firsthand experience. And so I'm very, very supportive of this, and I appreciate the leadership of the DFT, and I hope that we will move out to other schools moving forward throughout the district.
Whenever you're ready.
Go ahead, isn't it, it's your video right there.
Well, we're going to share a video that sums up the whole, initiative when it started and how it unfolded. And also want to say that I'm proud of the Oakman team and the Long team. Both really stood up to this occasion. The teachers take it upon themselves. We have, even though some of the teachers were not trained, they still participated in the visit voluntarily. They gave up their time and they went to 3 or 4 home visits. And again, the children are selected randomly, so it's not based on low scores or attendance or anything like that. They wanted to build that connection and open the door between the school and the home to be more fluid and more in unison. So here's a short video.
For 15 years, the Parent-Teacher Home Visit Project, a nonprofit collaboration jointly governed by union, district, and community members, has created stronger home-school partnerships that support students and transform schools. Within the Dearborn Public School District, both Long Elementary and Oakman Elementary have been chosen as pilot schools for the Parent-Teacher Home Visit Initiative. The Dearborn program is now in its 3rd year of implementation and experiencing great results. Families report greater understanding of graduation requirements, student status, and available site-based resources. Educators receive a greater understanding and connection to their entire school community and to each student's individual learning needs. Students improve socially and academically. Some of the factors that contribute to the success of the model in Dearborn are: visits are always voluntary for educators and families and arranged in advance. Teachers are trained and compensated for visits outside their school day. No targeting. Visiting is done by random selection. The teachers have a maximum of 8 students at this point, so there is not stigma. Focus of the first visit is relationship building, sharing hopes, dreams, and goals. Educators conduct visits in pairs, and after the visit, reflect with their partner. The model operates under these scheduling parameters. The first visit would take place in either the summer or fall and concentrates on relationship building, hopes, and dreams. That first visit is followed up with ongoing two-way communication. The second visit is in either the winter or spring and is focused on academics. Home visits work. Across the country, individual schools and entire school districts in over a dozen states have adopted the model. The research affirms that choice. Studies of successful home visit pilots, such as the Research and Their Stories 2014 Landscape Evaluation of PTHVP Model across the U.S., authored by Hewling M. Lee, ED-LD, stated that parent-teacher home visits have documented the many benefits, including home visits create partnerships by increased parental involvement, developing trust and understanding among parents and teachers, identifying common goals for students, helping parents learn how to better help their children.
He formed a bond with his teacher. When Miss Elwood came over, she would ask to go see his room. She would ask him about his toys in the house. They discussed things outside of school, which helped my son see that personal level with his teacher, which I think really helped him emotionally, and it also helped him trust her.
Home visits improve school climate by reduced absenteeism, fewer suspensions and expulsions, improved communication between home and school, shared accountability.
The teacher made it so easy for them. Our children's background is they are not too social. They would run out of the building. Being comfortable this year with their teacher, nobody ran out of the building. They're able to express themselves to the teacher. They're special. They can't wait for the summer's other visit.
Home visits increase student achievement through improved test scores, higher school-wide API scores, improved accountability for students, parents, and teachers.
I truly enjoyed having his teacher come and visit. She came and visited several times last year and this year as well, Mrs. Elward, and I think it had a very positive impact on my son, both emotionally and academically.
A Johns Hopkins study report in 2015 determined that students whose families received a home visit had 24% fewer absences than similar students whose family did not receive a visit, and were more likely to read at or above grade level, compared to similar students who did not receive a home visit. Home visits lead to trusting, respectful relationships between parents and teachers, creating the foundation for understanding and cooperation between home and school that is critical to every student's success. Home visits work for families. Home visits work for educators. And, most importantly, home visits work for students.
I think all in all, it was a very positive impact, and I wish every year his teacher could come visit us, because I think it really helps the child form that relationship with the teacher that they, I think, so desperately need these days.
All right. That was a great presentation. With some great graphics, too.
Oh, well, no, that's Oakman.
While we were watching the video,
I'm so sorry. I'm making a motion to extend the meeting for 15 minutes. I was just told that I have to do that right
Support.
now. Support? Okay.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Yeah, roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Barry? Trustee McDonald?
Yes.
Trustee Thorpe?
Yes.
President Petlicoff?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
And unfortunately, trustee Mead, had to leave.
Okay, and trustee Mead had to leave. Thank you, sorry about that.
One thing real quick, I know we're running out of time, but as we were watching the video, trustee Barry leaned over and said, "Look at the pride on their faces," and I looked up and you guys were beaming. So I just want to thank you for all you do, and I think this is an outstanding program. I'd like to see it expand.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now you can all go home
Trustee
and rest.
Petlicoff, 2 questions.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
wait a minute.
two questions, wait a minute.
It's gonna keep you.
All right, so Mr. Abarus, you could probably answer this one. So Oakman, in fall of 2016, when it's saying number of visits 57, we're saying that it was 19 students at 3 visits each?
Yeah, so, and that's if the teachers all recorded their visits into MyStar, which
Okay.
usually they're asked to, but when this was pulled, I'm not sure exactly what time of the year. So they have to do a fall visit and a spring visit. And I'm not sure when Chris separately did all the numbers, but the
So
numbers come
it's
from-
not a lot of students.
We started with a low number, and now we expanded. Each teacher can go up to eight visits, so that's,
But is that 8 visits to one
Can I-
family?
no.
Go ahead.
Can I just add,
Combined.
so when we say that the home visit, we're only counting the one child, but there might be multiple children in that. So the classroom teacher is
Okay.
going for the child in her class, but that child might have
sibling,
siblings that are
all right.
also, but not included in this number.
And it said that this is random, so this isn't a situation where you're selecting students that might be having a more difficult time and you're trying to provide additional support?
It's supposed to be it's random. So they can be all over the spectrum.
Okay.
So that parents don't think we're targeting a certain group, so it's a random visit.
In fact, part of the project is that the schools that are selected, like Oakman and Long, the principals have to give their class list to the teachers that are trained, like near the end of July, early part of August, so that they actually can make visits before school even starts. So they don't really have any academic or behavioral data on them yet. Do you know what I'm saying? It's kind of
Well,
a fresh
if they're
slate.
kindergarten, but if they've
Well,
been in the school for a couple of years, you know.
Technically, okay.
We know
Yes.
you talk.
Well, actually, it did play in a good way. That, I had to share the groupings of upcoming school year with teachers earlier
In their
the year, in the
classes,
summer.
yeah.
In the summer, and so the teacher had a chance all summer long to kind of prepare for their students and communicate via mail or email or the blog, and they actually made a better connection. Beginning of the year, we had very minimal issues to deal with in regards to my child in this teacher's class, or I want to move to this class, or any other issue, because there was already an established relation between the teacher now and the students.
So are they
or the
getting
families.
compensated for the summer visit then as well?
They get compensated for the visits they make, yes, as long as they follow with the documentation piece of it and enter it into MyStar.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, now you're excused.
Thank you.